Hi, and welcome back to the Self-Actualization in the Age of Crisis chapter summary series. I'm your host, Ron Rivers, and today we're going to be exploring Chapter 2, Partnership and Parenting. So when we think of partnership and parenting, I think it's important to kind of set the context. Our journey of self-actualization in the age of crisis is as much a journey of expansive love as it is avoidance of the crisis. Today we inhabit moments where philosophies surrounding the partner and the parent vary pretty greatly across a wide variety of kind of systems of meaning and value. This single truth in the relational universe provide us with a new updated framework of how we view ourselves and our partners and our children, right, as parents. And that's kind of what we're going to explore in this episode. Now, we have to start from the context, right? What have we inherited? The salvation religions, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, have all, for their really the entire history of their organization, have all kind of staunchly dictated what partnership and parenting should be. They've set very specific frameworks of the relationship, very specific roles in the relationship. I mean, even today, if you go to, let's say, an evangelical or Protestant wedding, possibly Catholic wedding as well, it's very specific that the woman is intended to serve the husband. And it creates a hierarchical relationship between partners, really husband and wife. Right? It's one of the reasons my partner and I choose to use the language of partner is that we really do view our partnership as a partnership, an equal kind of exchange of values and information over time. Whereas traditional salvation religions do not at all put the husband and wife on equal footing. And that's a very important kind of component as we examine partnership and parenting through the lens of the single truth. This kind of hierarchical denial of rights, and I say rights both in the metaphorical term because there's like an implicit exchange of rights, right? The wife gives up kind of her agency to the individual husband, but also there's an explicit kind of denial of rights for both parent and child, depending on what regions, what geographies, and what beliefs they're held into. So I want to really emphasize that the problem is both literal, right? It's the denial of rights from one group to serve another, as well as metaphorical, the implicit, implied kind of exchange of rights and the subservience, the dominion relationship that a marriage kind of ensues under the present dominion philosophies of spirituality. So to that end, when we consider it through the lens of the single truth and our core values, we recognize and we frankly reject any form of value and meaning that supports a hierarchical partnership that places one individual above the other in the relationship outside of a pure consent, independent. The idea is that we want to really elevate our partners as partners and not as something to be owned, not as something to be dictated to, not as something to serve our individual will, because that again reinforces hierarchical frameworks of meaning and value, the same that have driven us to the crisis. Again, I want to emphasize relationships within, self-actualizers absolutely reject the objectification of one partner for the benefit of another. Now, when we think of parenting, I kind of dive deeper into the book. There's no one right way to parent in alignment with the single truth in the relational universe. However, there are obviously very specific tenets that we want to follow. The first is we recognize the child as equally divine, right? A tongue-tied prophet, unable to express themselves and direct their time experience as well as an adult. But that really is a core responsibility of the parent, is to raise an individual who not only understands and possesses an awareness of their experience as a fractional observer, but more importantly possesses the capacity to direct that flow of that time experience in the directions of their choosing. Now, easier said than done, right? Being parenting is an immense stress, both in the physical aspect, the emotional aspect, but also the societal pressures. No one wants to be a bad parent. But if we look at our present day context, one of the challenges we've fallen into is in the name of freedom, we've really denied the divinity of the child. So we've put them as the property of the parent, who is solely responsible and ultimately has the quote unquote like best vision for their child. But we know that not to be accurate, right? At the end of the day, there are methods and ideals that will better prepare the child to have a greater degree of access and agency in the world. And some methods don't really prepare them that well, right? Strict indoctrination in, for example, a dominion philosophy would not prepare them as well as a pluralistic vision of the universe that is not only in alignment with the universe, but also reflects the immediate present. So we kind of dive deeper into the text about some methods of parenting, and we'll go into that in a bit in the child chapter. But I do want to emphasize that while there is no one set way, there are some core principles that self-actualizers want to follow to kind of best prepare their child to take advantage of the immediate present. Ultimately, the struggle with being a parent in today's world is kind of abandoning the long-held dogma surrounding parenting and, more importantly, surrounding the child. We cannot recognize their individuality and divinity while at the same time leaving them bound to circumstances that they had no say in choosing. And in many ways, that is why our systemic project is so deeply tied into our spirituality as self-actualizers, is because it is the only way to free the child from the birth lottery they inherited that they really had no say in choosing.